90 seconds, so hold on.
Excellent.
We're about to talk some small business acceleration.
All right, folks. 1 minute and we'll be
1 minute
on
live
air.
stream.
Awesome.
Four, three. Good morning, Philadelphia. Everybody out there on WWDB 860 and everywhere else via the live stream. This is Kevin O'Brien. I'm with Wayne Middleton, and it's Monday morning, so you must be listening to the SMB Acceleration show. Before we get into today's show, remember, if you missed anything this morning on the radio broadcast or live stream, you can catch the podcast anywhere podcasts are found or on our website, smbacceleration.com. We have a great show ahead today. We're going to be talking promoting your small business blog. Since the last 2 weeks, we've been talking blogging, Wayne, and then we're going to get into the customer journey and just kind of simplify that and how small businesses can look to adapt a better customer journey to accelerate their business. So, Wayne, got to ask, how was the trip down?
Trip down this morning was great. Had time to actually look around me as I was going along and enjoyed every moment of it. Thanks very much, Dan. Yes, it was a bit of a Benny Hill moment.
Yes.
But all good fun, and looking forward to today's show. Some good topics. And finally, I think we can put this blogging stuff to bed.
Yes. So I do wonder, you think the soccer ad just coming on before us was a tribute to you bringing a certain flavor across the pond? Dan says no, but I thought it was a funny tie to get in.
Yeah, probably not. But they did mention my favourite coach of all time, Jose Mourinho. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big Tottenham supporter, and Jose Mourinho, after messing up Manchester United... Thanks, I need the booze and cheers this morning. After messing up Manchester United, is now destined to mess up Tottenham Hotspur too.
Woohoo! Well, I have to say, I don't actually follow enough Premier League to have an opinion.
Well, no one's everyone hasn't got the same taste as I have, but
we put it on. I think it's a good example I tell my kids, since they both play soccer, that it's not a bad idea to watch people that are really good at it do what they're doing.
Yeah, so watch the Spanish league.
Oh, but you know what? Then I go and we laugh because my son's in kindergarten, and the biggest thing between all the parents is it's an all boys team, and it's really not about how many goals they score. It seems to be about how many times each kid hits the pitch.
Yeah. I've watched some junior soccer and coached some soccer, I will say. And it is funny. You just see these little mobs of kids running around. The ball could be elsewhere. They're still running. But it is good fun. And I encourage my kids to watch Tottenham. They can name at least two of the players.
Well, that's impressive.
So that's pretty good. And yeah, I mean, it's a big part of the British culture and the culture outside into Europe and South America and other places. And it's picking up here in the US, so that's good.
I'll tell you, having played youth soccer here compared to the youth soccer today is night and day different.
Oh yeah,
The
very
amount
different.
of European coaches that even like the local clubs around here hire, it's just astonishing. It was a mind opening to me.
Yeah, I mean, we're diversing here from small business, but to tie it all back together, when I was coaching, I was coaching every weekend a small team, and I was actually contemplating going into the career of football coaching. So I was thinking about doing my FA coaching badges, which would have put me in a position to be able to coach everywhere and actually get paid for doing something that I love doing.
I'm not gonna lie, I have that random thought every couple Saturdays of like, it's not a bad small business.
It's not. Every time Tottenham lose, I still think I can do better than the coach there. So, if you're listening, Tottenham Hotspur managers and owners, there's a British guy over here who's happy to coach for free if needed.
Just to improve the team. Oh, that's great. So, you know what? Tying that in, it is there's a lot of small businesses out there, and that's definitely one you'd probably need a website.
Oh, guaranteed. Yeah, I would think so. I am a manager. HireMePlease.com. There's been a lot going on, and I think we would be remiss, being we're on this sporting subject, of the sad passing of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, that hit the media pretty quick, and a shocking and very sad, tragic incident. So we, all our feelings are out and thoughts out to his family. And with that, let's get into some news.
No, absolutely. There's a lot of good stuff going on. It seems like it's a busy start to the year, just even from people I've been out talking to. It seems like there's a lot of happening. Small business owners seem motivated by their New Year's resolutions, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, just being on LinkedIn and other social media channels, 2020 is the year of growth, apparently.
It does seem that way.
And it does seem that way. I mean, it has really started to pick up. I mean, just talking from my own experience, I'm picking up a bit more consulting work here and there. It's definitely interesting. And I think, following on from that, if you're looking at 2020 and going, okay, I want to start my own business, we're going to have some guests during the upcoming months that will help you understand how to get started, what to do from a legal point of view, what to do from a health point of view, because surprisingly or not, health has a major part to play in being a small business owner. If you're healthy, fit, energetic and ready to rock and roll, you're going to be more passionate, more driven, and pursue your passion a little bit more than someone who is probably not as healthy. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just a healthy mind helps you focus better and push forward. So we're going to have lots of guests coming up in the future shows that will help anyone thinking about starting up their own small business to get started, even down to venture capitalist firms who may be willing to invest in ideas and concepts.
No, absolutely. There's a lot of, from what I understand, a lot of capital out there. I actually have to say the company my brother works for just got a really big round of funding, which was really good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's out there. It's about being different. It's about having something unique to your business or your product or service. It can happen. And then, it helps when you're creating good content as well, because people can find you. If they can't find you, they can't do it. I actually give them a hard time
about their ads, though.
Oh, you do?
And he runs it up their chain of marketing command.
Hey, sometimes you just got to do what you do.
Yeah,
right?
Sometimes everybody's a critic.
Yes,
but I have to say, I give them a hard time because they ran the same one for a while. But it's a fast-growing company, so it's marketing. If you're a really good operations company, can sometimes be not as big a focus, which I get.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's a nice segue into one of the first bit of small business news of the week. We was reading the Forbes magazine, and they were talking about or offering 4 tips for small or local business marketers looking to up their game in 2020. So I think, if you haven't read it, go on to Forbes and check it out. But it's an interesting article. It really is focusing on the whole new decade kind of spin. And focusing more on the small business and what you want to do, whether you're growing that through your staff and through hiring, or growing it through your marketing and trying to get more customers in your door. It's got some interesting points in there. Some interesting information was really around nearly a third of small business owners do not believe they have enough resources or bandwidth to effectively market their business. Me and Kevin have been talking about this a lot. If you spend most of your time doing what your business is meant to do. How do you balance that with trying to get good, strong marketing together? And that's where you might start to consider either hiring someone full time to do it, working with a consulting firm or an agency to help you elevate your brand in that way. But it's true. I mean, it's a constant struggle. Once work comes in, it's easy to get that done.
Yes.
It's very hard to take time out of your day where we're getting paid, frankly, to spend time thinking, how can I push my marketing through social media, or how can I do this? So, that's an interesting fact, and it just speaks to what me and Kevin have been talking about over many of our shows recently. Balance is everything, and so sometimes you just got to know when to ask for help.
No, I think it's a great point, and I know a lot of successful small business owners often understand, maybe one marketing channel really well, or maybe two, but it's once you've grown them, you have to sometimes start really looking, what else can I add? What am I missing? Even that brand awareness. Where am I not getting enough eyeballs to start bringing in new customers? I'm doing well. You might be already doing a lot of things well. You might be doing retargeting. You might be, doing SEO, or say it's Google ads, or all three. And you're like, where can I go next? And I think a lot of times that's really where it can be beneficial to have that partner to your small business.
Absolutely. Even if they just come in on a small retainer, a retainer payment system where maybe it's 1 month to month, but it rolls over, so you're not overspending. One of the other interesting stats out is Forbes' article actually plays off really nicely of what you were saying. 60% of small businesses don't run any paid ads whatsoever on social media or other channels, even though, and this is the bit that got me, even though they think it will be effective.
Yes.
So my thinking is the reason they're probably not doing that is fear and time.
Or they've opened a Facebook Business Manager account and we're like, the heck with this.
Well, I second that. I'd probably be the same. But
jokingly,
joking aside, I mean, it's an untapped potential. It's a way to get eyeballs. It's a way to get your brand out there into the stratosphere.
If you're
and have
going
people looking
to
through.
spend time posting on Facebook and you're not boosting it, you're probably in some case wasting your time.
Well, now with all their algorithm changes and not being able to reach people outside of your outside of your community, you are, because really all you're doing is talking to people that already know about you. You're not necessarily growing it. You may still, through the whole idea of what social is, you may pick up one or two of their friends, but you're still not maximizing the reach that you could get by doing boosted or paid ads. Yeah,
and I mean, I'm not even saying they need to be expensive. That might be, as you and I jokingly like to call it, for a cup of good coffee a day, you can really improve your marketing. Yeah. If you're putting out, 4 Facebook posts a week or 5, and you took that cup of coffee a day, we'll call it $3. Yeah. So it's a really good cup of coffee. And you boosted each post for $3. I think you would be amazed. Most business owners would be amazed by the results. And I am hesitant to use something like boost a post because that's what Facebook wants you to do. Yeah. But it would actually be to go into Facebook Business Manager and set up a $3 campaign around the post.
Yeah, I mean, this article goes on to talk about getting hyper local. So again, we've talked about this a lot on the show as well, which is if you're a business down in Philadelphia or surrounding area, like focus your efforts through your social media, paid advertising, get that balance between paid and organic through all of those channels, and focus it hyper local. You're going to reach a lot of people, and you're going to reach a lot of people that didn't know you existed, more importantly. And it's also a way to limit and restrict how much you spend, and you can grow that exponentially. So start very, very local, and then start adding areas. And start adding, and you'll start to see a good return on investment by doing that. So that was a really good bit of insight that they were offering, also around the organic plus paid. You have to have both, I think, in today, right? If you don't have both, you're cutting one arm off fundamentally, by having a good balance of both paid and organic, you will maximize your return on investment, and you will start to see more customers coming in.
Absolutely. And I think we all know that, Facebook truly isn't free. People are giving them their data basically to be marketed to.
Yep.
And that's the same with when you use Google or any of the very premier, premier social media and or search engines. So, as a business owner, you have to understand that and really take advantage of the marketing opportunities offered to you.
Yeah, I agree. And, definitely check this article out. It's got some good insights. Honestly, we've talked a lot about a lot of this stuff on the show. So look back through past episodes on our YouTube channel. But it is a really great article and very insightful. Sometimes I read some of these things and it's kind of hit and miss as to whether any of it's any good.
Yeah.
This one actually it aligns really well with what me and Kevin have been saying, so I'm not just being biased for that, although there is a little bit of that. It's actually just very, if you don't believe us, there's others talking about the same thing. Other news things that we've seen.
I saw a really... I can't say it was news. It was really interesting. I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, which is, widely considered the most successful podcast of all time.
Mm-hmm.
People put his monthly or his yearly earnings in somewhere of like 30 to 50 million. So
he's up there.
He knows what he's doing, and he had this older Boston comic. Joe, I guess, is from the Boston or Massachusetts area. Mm-hmm. And it was a guy who was like, an older comic when he was coming up. And the guy was saying how he had just got on Instagram and maybe something else, Twitter or something. So he had just was saying, he's like, yeah, I just, kind of got up into it, this and that. And what advice would you give me? And Joe Rogan said, create content consistently.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, no. And he was like, listen, post every day, a couple times a day on your social media, like your Twitter and Instagram, and do it consistently. Do it every day. Every day, consistently keep putting out content. And he was like, that's all it is. And I was like, you know what? Wow. It really, to hear it from somebody like him, and that's part of what his success is attributed to, is just he puts out long podcast, hours worth of podcast material every day, every week,
Yeah. I mean, hey, content is king. If you're not doing enough, do more. And if you think you're doing too much, do more.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as too much content, I don't think. And I think you have to be consistent in your timing. If you're doing it every Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday, do it Monday, Tuesday, so on and so forth. We can talk about our own experience. Obviously, we have the radio show that we do every Monday, but we try to at least bring out small little, what we call SMB bites, twice a week, on a Tuesday and a Sunday, or Tuesday and Thursday, sorry. I've got Sunday on the brain. So we try to do that every Tuesday and Thursday so that we're constantly keeping the content going. We're also, we've got to up our game in terms of putting out more blog content as well.
Yeah, the consistency to do it all the time. So, I think Joe made a great point that the biggest thing you want to do is just be consistent in it. If you're, if you put on Facebook, be consistent about it. And I think it was just interesting to hear that from him. And I think as far as we always are talking about blogging and social media, like you just got to do it consistently. You got to keep at it.
Yeah, you have. The more you do, the better it will. The better results will be.
And I'll tell you, it kind of, I think, segues into what we're wanting to talk about as at least, kind of a piece on how to promote your blog. Because we spent a lot of time on getting a blog set up, in past weeks, blogging, like things to blog about and blogging type content. And then you kind of we had a good look at creating, photographs for your blog, and you've been creating images, using all the different editors, and recommended all the tools. That last part is if you're going to put the effort into blogging, it's much like social media. There's a paid part of it, and you have to realize that you're going to have to spend some money to promote your blog.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you're 100% right. And yeah, even though you're not talking about thousands and thousands of dollars, it's a small investment to get, so try to maximize the reach of your blog posts. And some of the things that you can do to help promote without paying is really leveraging your email list, right?
I love that one. That's
I
a good
think
one.
this is a
Really
great one, right? So, yeah, if you're struggling to come up with email content to send out, and perhaps your newsletters are running a bit dry, throw some of your blog articles into those newsletters. Do a whole email just on one of your blog posts. Do a quick synopsis, a little image that ties it all together. Direct them to the website. It can help. It can help people get eyes on your content, and if you're doing that consistently, you can actually get them just to sign up for your blog. So you start creating another mailing list, which is really interesting too.
That's a great point. I think, you know what, I've seen a lot of very successful marketers and business owners. A lot of times it's people selling courses, I feel.
Yeah.
They have a good funnel for it. But every time they put a new blog out, they send that email.
Absolutely. It's all, and again, a lot of them are using automation platforms to do that, ironically. So
Really? Okay.
yeah, even down to MailChimp with their automation, you can set it up so every time a blog post is written and added to your site, it picks up what the content is, creates a little email for you, and sends it out.
Okay.
So there's ways to automate that, so you're not spending an inordinate amount of time doing it. The other interesting thing, when you're thinking about it, where else can I publish my blog content? Because pushing it through email, putting it on my site, that's great, but this is where it gets challenging. Is okay, where else should I be putting my content? Where am I going to get the maximum amount of eyes?
Yeah, I mean, one I think is to what I mentioned earlier about taking that $3 cup of coffee, and for one of your days or each time you blog, that's a great thing to post or boost. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Boost it through social media. Through do a visual version of it. Put it through Instagram. Put it on Facebook with a little synopsis. Drive them to the blog post. That's one way. By boosting it, you're going to get more reach, which is interesting.
And I mean, if you really want to get technical on it, there's a really smart way to do it. Is you can kind of run it to just new people if you want it. You can say people who've never visited my site, only run it to them. But I mean, if I was a small business owner who was, focused on running my business, I just wanted the most efficient, fastest way to do it, I would just take the $3 and, boost it in that area consistently. That would be my $3 thing every time I put a blog up, because it also allows me, anybody that clicks through, I can then retarget.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I really like that. Gives me that kind of stacking benefits of creating content and driving them to my website.
So just another little question for you, really, Kevin. Would it be could it be possible to create a tab on your Facebook that just controls your blog content?
You can. I've never had success with them.
Okay.
You?
Well, I was asking, so I didn't know if you could. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've used the different tools that allow you to put those other tabs.
Okay.
But I've always found if it's not in the news feed,
it's not getting looked at.
It's not getting looked at. No, I've done a number of different types of content, but one that was like feature listings for a real estate business and stuff like that. And I've found that or like the Shopify, Facebook, I think there's a tab you can use that as. I found it's very hard to get people to
click on it,
tab through the user experience. And one thing we're talking about is like customer journey later. It's not necessarily set up for that. It's really set up to scroll the news feed. You don't really get that pattern interruption and then like click through to this tab.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth bearing in mind most people are looking at Facebook these days on their phone.
Yes, great point.
Which makes the tabs a little redundant, quite honestly. I've seen good success with creating a giveaways tab. So, for someone who's running a small e-commerce shop or a store, brick and mortar store, setting up a tab and making that your promotions and giveaways. I've seen good traction with that, but it's within the community that I have.
Yes.
It's not necessarily reaching new people. The only way I would reach new people using that kind of giveaway is to do paid.
True.
Do some posts, do some feeds, as it were. Other things, like, is there any other channels you can think of where you could get your... I mean, we talked I think we talked a couple of shows back about guest blogging.
Yes.
So that's another way of getting your articles out there. And if you're in the manufacturing space, software space, whatever, there's lots of local events that you can do. And so a lot of those have their own blog. It is worthwhile seeing if they offer a guest blogging
Absolutely.
situation.
I mean, business to community, I know is one. Like the small biz trends. There's a lot you can submit it to. You just have to kind of take the time a lot of times to go out and find
the places.
Which ones are the best ones,
Yep.
that are going to lead to success.
What are your thoughts on Reddit?
I don't understand it enough. You?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the lesser used channels,
Yes.
I think is fair to say.
But I have to say by me.
Yeah, but it does get a lot of traction in terms of content and people viewing that content.
And I've heard great success stories from people who have done really well with Reddit ads.
Yes.
And like driving people back to their website.
Yeah.
I think there's I think that's almost one of those things where we just hit a great topic of, if you were looking to do Reddit ads, find somebody that really knows Reddit ads.
Yeah.
Asking you and I to do them probably is not your best bet.
I would agree. I think our knowledge of Reddit is a little limited and something we should work on.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it's interesting when you stop and think, you get into, the minutia of a channel like that. Like, you really need to understand it.
You do. And it's true of all the channels, if
Yes.
you really think about it.
I have never spent enough time. I love it. I love, like, how much traction it gets.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's known for getting views.
Yes.
So get it, if nothing else, it's almost like a content syndication kind of application where you can put your content out there. It will get lots of views. If you're doing it through paid ads, it's going to drive traffic to your site. So it's a great way to get people and eyes on your stuff and get them into your website.
Yes, and if you can get your links picked up organically by people who use Reddit, that's actually, I've seen done audits on websites where you're like, wow, what is all this? And it would be like links to a lot of times people's blogs on a very specific topic, like, fixing this part for this industrial something, or for whatever.
How to replace the washer on my washing machine.
Yeah, something like that. And
very
like,
specific.
And people are like looking for it, and somebody puts it up, and then that thread does really well in Reddit, and then organically through SEO because of Reddit's power.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you're getting 1,000 views a month from page views coming to your website,
just from that one channel. And that could be a lot if you can get that view into a form completion or a contact, right? So you have to think about, and again, we're going to get into this with the customer journey, but it all ties back and it all goes hand in hand. I mean, the other thing to sort of think about is if let's change our gears here and say, okay, I'm offering B2B services. LinkedIn is one of the best channels to get your thinking out there. Get your blog posts up there. Start posting more frequently, and you'll get traction. You'll get people looking at you and wanting to use your services. It's a great lead generation tool.
Yep, and I think you can do it two ways. I think you can do it one as post a link to your website, which again, if you can get people to click through, great, because then you can retarget. But LinkedIn, from what I've been reading and understand, seems to suppress when you share links on the platform because it drives people away from LinkedIn.
From the platform, yeah.
So a lot of times what it might be better to do is write a synopsis as a LinkedIn article.
Yeah.
And then share the article and try and do that as well.
Yeah, that's another way of doing it. There's lots of opportunities out there to grow the reach of your blog, and I think again it's that balance between paid and organic.
Yes.
Choosing the right channels, right? It'd be great if we could all get our posts shared on Huffington Post or something like that. And it is possible. It's not impossible to do, but they obviously can't do it for everyone. It has to be specific to
you have to be creating really great content.
It has to be really well written, yada, yada, yada. The other thing is we talked a lot about different types of blog videos. So obviously YouTube is a no-brainer. Converting that YouTube video into audio and starting your own little podcast. That's one other way of getting blog style content out there.
That's a great point.
The other thing I would contemplate thinking about is not only not only your videos and your written content, it's your visual aspects. That's where you can leverage Instagram, Pinterest, and start growing awareness of your brand through that, just using pure visuals.
I'll tell you, Pinterest is often overlooked, but depending on your business, could be a, excellent way to get your content out there.
And if you're not doing Pinterest at the moment, it doesn't hurt to try something.
No, that's a great point.
It really doesn't. And I would say the same with any of the channels. If you're not doing Instagram, try something. If you haven't done a video, use Periscope, use YouTube. Try to get content out there. Get it into channels where people are looking for and consuming content of the type that you're doing, and just experiment. Don't be afraid to try some different things.
No, that's really true. If you're hesitant to do video, I would say follow our previous guest, Wendy Saltzman. You can find her easy by Googling her name within LinkedIn, and reach out to her, because she puts out these daily video tips.
She does,
and they're just
very
amazing.
Good.
Like get you realizing that she does it from her home office setup, and as she mentioned to us, it's not an elaborate setup that she has, and so that really, if you see what she's doing, you're like, okay, I can go and put out this content. Video is one of the easier ways to start.
Yeah, it's easy to talk. It's not always easy to write. So
yes.
It's a very accessible medium to use. I mean, some other, just off the top of my head, ideas of things you can do to help promote your blog or vlog or whatever. Don't forget your email signature. Link to your blog from there. If you've got video content that you're using on YouTube, embed that video into your signature. These are all little ways of getting your content out there and reaching as many people as possible. If you've got partners and people that you're working with, ask them if they can post your blog on their site, or if you're doing it in LinkedIn, get them to follow you, get them to comment on it as well.
Yeah, and if you're in the B2B space, and you're writing about one of your suppliers, make sure you tag them on social media so they are aware, and even shoot an email over to your contact and be like, hey, we just did a blog about your company.
Yeah, check it out.
Can you guys share it? It highlights how great you are. We thought, other people would like it.
And then just to kind of round off this section, because I know we're going to go to an ad shortly, one thing you can also do, and don't forget to do, is even when you're posting new posts, if you've got a post that got a lot of views, a lot of traction, interlink it.
Yes, that's a great point.
Embed a link in there talking about it in some way. Drive people from one blog article into another, and all of a sudden it starts to grow on its own organically that way.
It does, and it really helps your SEO, and across the board you tend to start seeing really strong results. So, as Wayne said, we're going to take a quick break, but before we do, remember, if you missed anything this morning on the radio broadcast or live stream, you can catch our podcast on our website, SMB Acceleration, or anywhere podcasts are found. When we come back, we're going to jump right into the customer journey.
Yeah, I know. I should have brought water with me. I thought that we finally put blog to bed. To some level.
3 weeks.
Yep.
Hello, live stream.
Yeah, don't be afraid to send in some comments. We can respond live on.
If you have questions, please
air.
feel free. Let us know. We're happy to answer them.
And if you are joining us through Livestream, don't forget, share, like, and follow us on YouTube too. We'll be posting this back up on there. So again, if you miss us right now and don't get comments in, you can do it then too.
Yep. We're here to answer your questions.
If you got live streamers, if you got some idea, if you got some topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to send them over. We're always happy to consider them and see if we can bake them into a show.
Yeah, absolutely. We're about to go live on the radio in just a second. 30 seconds.
Actually, something else very quickly that I can talk about is we're actually auditioning guests for the show. So if you're a small business owner or offer services to small business owners, feel free to give us a give us an email and improve your broadcasting skills and join us live on the show.
All right, we're back. But before we get into accelerating your small business today, let me tell you quickly about my favorite option for booking a vacation in North Wildwood. My favorite place to go is Short Points Realty. Short Points Realty is a great place to go, get that vacation home, get set up for the summer. This mild winter definitely has me already thinking about the beach. If you're looking to start booking that home now, give them a call, 609-522-2286. If you're a North Wildwood homeowner looking to better your rental season, give them a call. They're an extremely digital savvy team. Ask for Ian. All right, Wayne, let's get into the customer journey.
Yeah, so the first question is, what is the customer journey? Well, it's an ever-evolving thing. Let's go back in time a little bit. It used to be that in order to get a new customer, you send out a direct mail piece. They would either pick up the phone and call you, or fill in that bit of paper or card and send it back to you, and then that started their customer journey with your company. You then did their service, or say I'm a painter decorator. I'd go in, give you an estimate. Based on the price of that estimate, would determine whether I was going to use your services or someone else's. So that was the customer journey. Very short, very kind of abrupt to a certain degree. And then it was all to do with the quality of the work you did as to whether they would recommend you afterwards. Well, nowadays that customer journey is like a big old roller coaster. There's so many different ways people can join your or start to become a customer of yours, and you're talking about nurturing them from initial contact all the way through to after service and ongoing support and care for after you've actually done the transaction. There could be additional things that you want to do. You want to keep your brand top of mind for them, so you're going to continue to market to them. So there is no easy way in today's world to have a very you have to think about your customer journey as this big mountain range that's going up and down, and you have to hit that customer at every point of that journey in order to create the ultimate experience for them, so that they will come back and use your services or products or whatever consistently. So the customer journey is so critical to the success of any marketing campaign, any sales cycle, any small business, large business. It actually doesn't matter the size of your business. The customer journey should be everything you focus on.
No, I think that's really, it's a great explanation. And I think business owners understand it. They might not just understand it in the context of customer journey. And I really was kind of looking for ways. I couldn't have put it as eloquently as you did, but I really, another definition I liked was one from SurveyMonkey.
Mm-hmm.
And they just said it was the complete sum of experiences that customers go through when interacting with your company or brand. Instead of looking at just a part of the transaction or experience, the customer journey documents the full experience of a customer. It's exactly like you said, is really, start to purchase and then ongoing and
beyond,
consecutive purchases, and everything plays a part in this journey. And a lot of times I think businesses that might be struggling have a trouble with their customer journey.
Yeah, I think normally, in doing some of the assessments on brands, you can normally identify some holes in the customer journey where they're just not quite delivering, and that could be down to they're not communicating frequently enough with their customers. They're not necessarily asking their customers what else they could do. They're not communicating their services in a clear and effective way. So you really have to understand, what's in your customer's head and what they're trying to, what they want from your business, and then not only offer that service, but also go beyond that service. Because now the experience of you experience brands in so many different ways. You can experience through a photograph that you've seen on Instagram, and everything really should be driving towards what the customer wants and needs, and how you can fulfill and provide that.
Yeah.
And then what's the ultimate experience going to be for that customer working with you? So, it's very hard to put into words. So what really does that mean? Well, I'm always remembering it this way, and it was told to me by a previous agency that I used to work for, and the owner was very much about the customer experience, And in fact, the whole agency was built around creating the perfect customer experience for their customers. And he said the customer experience starts from the moment they walk through our door, the moment they pick up the phone, the moment they read one of my emails, to the moment we say goodbye and part ways because they've moved on to somewhere else. And he said, even after that, even after that relationship has come to its life cycle, he said the customer experience continues beyond that. And it could be trying to win that customer back, understanding why they left. What was it we didn't provide for you? How did we not help you? So, some things you can think about in terms of your customer journey is, think about it as a beginning, middle, and end. So the end. At the end of a relationship, I've hired Kevin. He's a great, I'm going to call him a bricklayer. He comes in, he built me a lovely wall. It's beautiful. I'm happy with it. But then Kevin doesn't follow up with me afterwards, and I pay the invoice, and I forget all about Kevin and his lovely wall, except for one day when I'm walking past that wall and it's crumbling away a little bit, and I'm like, I need to get that fixed. Now, if Kevin has got a customer journey that is effective, he'd still be top of mind for me, because I'd still be getting little bits and pieces here and there, bits of content with his brand and his picture on it potentially, or his logo, that reminds me that he still exists and he's still out there. And I'll remember that great experience that I had with working with him, getting the wall done in the first place. So something that I would do by default, if I finished a job for someone, I would send out a customer satisfaction survey, asking them, how was your service? What did you like? What did you dislike? How did you, what can we do to make the experience better for you? Yada, yada, yada. So you start asking the customer questions about what you are doing for them and what their experience is like.
That's great.
It's all good and well doing the survey. You have to be willing to change some things sometimes to be able to live up to what their expectations are. And sometimes you can't. But it's important to be asking that question and constantly keeping the customer top of mind. And I think that's the key. The key to any successful journey is keep the customer top of mind. If someone is calling you, wanting your services, think about how you answer when you pick up the phone. Think about how you sound when you're talking. If you're not the best or most expressive person on the phone and you're talking in a very dull, monotone kind of way, find someone else at your company that doesn't. And I know it sounds silly and it may be offended. It may offend some people.
Stop answering your phone.
If you haven't got a people person's attitude and you haven't got the right tone of voice or whatever, it can actually be damaging your brand, and you could be losing customers because of it. So why risk it if you've got someone else on staff that has a very good phone manner? If your emails, think about how you sign off your emails. You can do the very formal, yours sincerely. You can do Bob, just leave it with your name. Or you could do something more personalised towards that particular customer. It could be a little personalised message. It could be remembering when they came into your funnel as such, remembering when they became a customer, and so recognising that and say, hey, happy 5th anniversary, you've been our customer for 5 years. Reward someone for doing that length of service. There's lots of little things, and it's the little things that make a huge difference, and it creates a better experience of your brand for that customer. So the customer journey is so complex and so encompassed. The best way to really kind of go at it is think about everything you do and think about what can I do just to up it one step. Maybe it is the email signature. Maybe it's creating a personalized message at the end of your emails. Maybe it's having a better phone voice. Maybe it's, if you're a brick and mortar, a shop, a store, how you greet someone. What does the store look like? Is it clean? Is it inviting? Is it friendly?
Well, I have to say, I think the physical location adds, a whole lot of nuanced challenges to the customer journey. You just made me think of this conversation I had over the weekend. It was a very small slice of the customer journey, but it was really interesting. I was talking to a real estate broker over the weekend, and we were talking about, I was sharing a story of someone I had previously worked with at one of the big franchises, and the guy, I thought, knew nothing about marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, here I am. I'm building social media channels. I'm building a website. I'm doing SEO. I'm doing all these things. And this guy would send 300 letters every quarter to the same 300 homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
And what he did is he took this franchise would put out a quarterly marketing report. And he would print the whole thing out, print a cover like letter, hey, it's this so-and-so, here's my first quarter market report, sign it. And he always signed it. He took time to do that stuff and all. Then he would do a mail merge, same 300 people every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And he built a very good living, basically, off doing just that.
Yep.
But what I didn't understand at the time was how consistent he was with it. It went out every quarter.
Yeah.
Always, without fail. By the 10th day of quarter 2, you were getting quarter 1s.
Yep.
And it was just that consistency of people would come to him and be like, you sent it to us for 2.5 straight years. We figured we might as well list with you now because you're really consistent and we feel like you'll do a consistent job across the length of the transaction.
You've built a relationship.
Yeah, so he would build this very simplified version of a customer journey, but he always made them feel good whether the news say was up or down because it was consistent, and you always would send it regardless of how the market was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying it to this real estate broker and over the weekend, and he said, wow, actually, you kind of sparked something I hadn't thought about. He said, when I first got into it, I was marketing, to these condo buildings, and I would send them, a marketing postcard every, I forget what it was, 2 months or 6 months or something, whatever, but it was consistent, whatever the number was. And he said, this guy ended up dying, and his son went to the apartment to clean it out and list out a condo and get ready to put it for sale. And he found every postcard this guy had sent to the father.
Wow.
A collection of 30 or 40 of them, all saved, and the guy saved each one. So I guess whenever he was planning on listed, and the kid who inherited the condo called this guy up and was like, well, I guess my dad was telling me something that I think you should list the condo. But that was it's a very simple look at the customer journey, because that's only one piece of one. But you might only have an email address, and if you're consistent there, it can be business.
Yeah.
It's that same thing of as it's exponentially more complicated, that's where it really becomes necessary to take that holistic look at what's happening with it.
Yeah, I mean, it can, the customer journey is complex.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. And it can be, your adaptation or your out-of-the-box thinking towards that customer journey for your brand can be as simple as doing what Kevin just talked about, a simple email or a postcard. I always remember, talking about a bad customer journey and experience, right? So our lawn treatment guys, and I'm not going to mention the brand, but our lawn guys come out, and there was this nice gentleman. We were looking for one at the time, and we got chatting, and he started talking about coming over. He moved here 10, 15 years ago. He found out I was British, and we built up a bit of a rapport. And so I felt pretty good about going, okay, I'll get the services. We're looking for it anyway. About 3 weeks later, he comes back to the house, and we're talking again. He made it, the whole journey was, I'm just coming out and make sure you're still happy with our service, which I thought was great customer service, until he started trying to sell me on some more things. Anyway, I said, look, now's not the time, blah, 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 not really interested in that, and I thought that would be the end of it. 2.5 weeks later, he comes out, tries selling me something else, and the thing that he was trying to sell me. So it could be good sales technique, but it ended up aggravating me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They provided an app that was meant to be able to manage and control my services, and it was complex to use. It was difficult to use, and I pride myself on being able to use most digital things, but this thing was difficult to use. It didn't work 90% of the time, and when I went to change something, I found I couldn't. I had to call the rep back in order to change it. So my whole experience, my customer journey with them started off really well, then it petered out and got really bad. So bad, I'm never using them again. I'd rather go to someone who had, to your point, been sending me just little emails, if you're not happy with your current service, please give us a call, let us estimate out and meet the team. And They haven't been pushy. I haven't had tons of phone calls, even though they have my phone and my email address and everything else. They've been gently kind of eking into my existence, giving me tips, free advice, ways to actually not use them in some ways to treat my lawn, so that I can do some stuff myself. It's been a great customer journey with these people, and I'm going to be signing up with them for this year's summer season and spring season to get my lawn treated. But I think it's a case of follow through. It's a case of being committed to it, and it's a case of consistency. So whatever you do, be consistent with it, but always put that customer first. I think that's the most important thing.
I agree. I think you can sometimes people come out of these small business like sales conference or something, and they're like, well, they said ask them 12 times, but a lot of times it sounds way better than it actually is.
It's 10 times too many.
Yeah.
And
if you ask me and I don't want it, let it go.
Yeah, exactly. Don't hound. The worst thing, I hate pushy salesmen. So the moment I walk into a car showroom, I'm already on my defensive. So the moment you start trying to push a car down my throat that I don't want, is the moment I start getting my hackles up, as it were, and start challenging that. And then to the point where I'm like, you know what, I'm done. I'm walking away.
SurveyMonkey in that couple of the articles I was reading about the customer journey, getting my thoughts together for today, had an interesting thing that buying a home theater might be the absolute worst customer journey, because it's very technical. You have to be very technically proficient now with all of the options and compatibilities and all of these type things. And I thought to myself, well, that might be for like home electronics, but the car buying experience, I do not think is a good one.
No, it's still very old school. It's still got a lot of the old aggressive sales techniques where they disappear to the back for half an hour because they got to talk to their manager. They're sitting in there talking about nothing to do with your deal. Why they fudge some numbers. Because the reality is they can sell that car much cheaper than they have to. Everything else is marked up because of the sale, because of what is it, compensation, I guess, or whatever.
You know what?
That's more of a sales cycle. With the customer journey, it's the moment you walk in the door. I had a great experience with my recent car buy, which was with Subaru. Not pushy. Gave me a good detailed run-up of all the range of cars that we was looking at. Didn't try to upsell me to something we didn't want or didn't afford. And kept the kids happy, which is never easy in those situations. Had a little game area where they could play, and the sales guy, even 6 months after buying the car, has reached out, making sure that I'm happy with it, and reminding me of my services. It's been a very positive. So not all car dealers are the same.
No, my dad actually.
Big shout out to Subaru there.
My dad bought a Subaru through Costco, and has raved about the experience.
Yeah,
because the price is already set. It's a Costco set price. You have to go to certain dealers, participate in the program. He said the experience was actually very enjoyable and all. I actually heard somewhere, and I don't remember where it was, but that Subaru does a lot with training their salespeople and front line.
They're very customer centric. Same as if you think about the other big brand, which is hugely customer centric, is Lexus.
Yes.
I mean, it's VIP white glove treatment all the way. It should be at the price they're charging for their cars, but they take that customer journey all the way through. And so you're never, if your car breaks down, they come out and get it for you.
And they offered that years before,
they've been ahead of their curve.
I'll tell you, they have the best, I think, brand tagline of all. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
The relentless pursuit of perfection is just so well done.
It is well done. Who created that one? But it's true. And again, that customer eccentric kind of approach to things, it keeps people coming back and reusing your services.
Yes.
And it can be such a small thing. It really can. It can be as simple as an email that makes a difference. It could be the way you answer the phone. It could be your personality. It could be the people coming to the house to go and meet the people and giving them quotes and estimates.
I feel the same way, especially about, we were talking about brick and mortar. The customer, how you make me feel when I'm in your business is going to be a huge part of whether I'm going to come again, especially for local businesses. Having a terrible, and I mean, it goes for anything. I feel like a lot of times one of the detractors from small businesses is sometimes you feel like you go in and you're not very welcomed, and you're like, wait, I'm gonna already pay more than I could somewhere else. Shouldn't this be like an enjoyable, pleasurable experience?
Yeah. I mean, one of my friends, he's a sales guy for a very reputable medical device company, and he was doing really well, and his boss asked him this, and he got promoted for this. And his boss asked him, "What's he doing different than everyone else?" And it turns out all my friend did, every time he went to visit someone, whether they bought something or didn't, he'd take them a little gift box. They would have some chocolates in it, something else. And he did this all out of his own pocket. He did it off his own back. And he'd leave it with them. And he's a very personable person anyway. So he realised they were really busy and everything else. So we'd get them things that could help them throughout their day. So it might be a little tchotchke, it could be some chocolates, whatever. And that's how he kept winning his customers, because he got known as the guy who bought a basket to every meeting.
Really?
But that was part of his customer journey. And you know what? A lot of the customers he used at one company that he used to work for that did medical devices followed him to this other one. So not only did he keep customers coming back, he also got them to change the brand.
That's
because
amazing.
of the strength of his customer journey and how he treated customers.
I'll tell you, there's a great book on that. It's called The Go-Giver. Somebody I know had to read it for an MBA program. I ended up reading it, and it really is an interesting part of, like, he's a salesperson and he does the same thing. He brings everyone gifts or sends them, and just the power of, it's about a real life real estate broker actually in Atlanta or something, and that's just how he ran his business the exact same way.
Yeah.
And that's like a simplified version of, again, that customer journey, boiling it down to one thing. And if you're a small business owner who owns a retail business, you're going to have a more complex one. You're going to need to make sure the store is always, really clean and inviting, and you have great employees. You know what? We'll probably touch a little bit on this next week, and I know we're just about out of time today. And any last thoughts, Wayne?
No, all I would say is on the customer journey is sometimes just thinking out the box is all it needs.
Yeah, that's for sure. Think outside the box and be personable. And if you don't have a phone voice, hire someone that does. Well, this is Kevin O'Brien. I'm with Wayne Middleton. You are listening to the SMB Acceleration Show. Next week, we're going to get into a little bit more on the customer journey and really how you can improve your customer journey to accelerate your small business. Any last things there, Wayne?
No, just thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to speaking and talking with everyone again next Monday.
Don't forget to check out the live stream or download the podcast anywhere podcasts are found.
Never did that right.
No, I did not. Live stream, that's what happens when you try and talk faster than you planned.
Yep, you finish early.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us today. Again, don't be afraid to write in. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Or info@smbacceleration.com.